Hi friends, welcome back. Barb Pask here again. As you can see, we're going to paint over an old canvas again tonight. I cleaned out my studio recently and I threw away 3 trash bags full of paintings, but the canvases that didn't have a lot of paint on them, I kept some of them to paint over. Why not, right? I scraped it down so there's no hunks or anything on it. Brought in, I'll show you what I brought in to paint. Angle you down. I went out and cut some of the geraniums that are left. You can see the one is larger and more red. We're getting, fewer and fewer, but I haven't, until my pots are gone, I don't bring them in. I noticed my neighbors across the street, they emptied their pots like a month ago. Usually I can keep them after Thanksgiving, so they're still blooming, so I'm not killing them off till they're done. Going to use our EZL. What do they call this thing? There really isn't any name on it. This is a cool thing. I've showed it to you over and over. Kind of like a dry erase board. Comes with a little marker. You can look through it. I've tried it all kinds of ways. I've looked through it, difficult as it is, and actually drew my still life on it. Put my grid on my canvas. I've tried it that way. You can do a lot of things with it, but I'm using it just as a view finder, view catcher. Now we're going to do something a little different tonight. I've been having such fun lately working with a palette knife. Well, let me show you a few of them before we get going. So my plan is to paint this with a palette knife, or primarily with a palette knife. I do what I have to do. So I showed you on a short video recently a hair painting that I did with a palette knife. This is one I did with a palette knife. The sunflowers, actually, I let them dry. I kept some out of an arrangement, so the head kind of dropped over, but I think they're kind of cool. So I did that one. This one's a little simpler. Same pear and cherries. Suggested a bit of a plaid. I had a little peachy orange kind of cloth under it. I kind of suggested that. And let me show you one last one that I did. Those are 5x7s. Oops, this is an 8x10. This one I think I did it last night. Red geraniums, see all the paint? Isn't that fun? I don't know. I use palette knife a lot for details. And I have done whole paintings with it, of course I have. You try everything. But I have friends that are palette knife painters. That's what they paint in. They do whole paintings. I don't typically, you know me. I use it for little details typically. It's great to put heavy texture in a tree or get a fine line on something, but we're going to try, we'll see how it goes, to paint this with a palette knife. So we'll get a small brush, look through our viewfinder and get it sketched on first. And again, you do what you got to do. And if I find it isn't, if I need a brush, I'll grab a brush. So I've mixed up something really dark like I always do, ultramarine and transparent red oxide. And we're going to look through this. I need to figure out a way to clean this off somehow. And we'll get fairly close to the setup so we kind of fill it, and hopefully I can see through all this, through the old painting even, okay to paint on this. All right. Kind of suggesting where the blooms are. Hopefully, this doesn't feel like I have too much negative space in the end, I hope. So we're going to sketch it on like we always do. I've mentioned this before, but I have a DVD by Michelle Burns. She considers herself a palette knife painter. she spends a long time though with a brush. She basically paints the painting with a brush first and then starts with a palette knife. I mean, not just a sketch. She basically, so I don't know, it was different than I expected. In the end, she gets a real nice painting. She talked about, she went to a workshop with C.W. Mundy, and he encouraged her to, you know, get more paint on that canvas. So I think that's when she made the switch and started working with palette knife. And I guess it's been pretty successful for her. The DVD is a great lesson in painting people. That was the nicest thing I think I got out of it, the way she paints people. Some old medicine bottles. The two shorter ones I bought recently at an antique store. Just so cute. I like old bottles. I like old boxes. I didn't want to line everything up. This one's out further. I may even bring it further out yet. Let me see. Okay, we come down to the shoulder, and this bloom is about there where I have it. Okay. So we've had some pretty nice weather lately for fall, and I got an email today. You know, I paint out all summer with it, with my Tuesday group, and one of the gals is saying it's supposed to be like 60 this Tuesday. She's saying, anybody want to paint out? So I'm thinking about it. I know the thing is it will start cold in the morning. So, okay, let me see where this fabric is. I don't want to cut the canvas right in half with this fabric, even though in the end I may not even suggest foreground and background. We'll see what, you know, what I want to do in the end. This bottle I've got, so you see, I put the corner facing us just to make it a little more interesting. The waterline does the same thing. Flowers aren't perfect, but then they're going to be impressionistic, so they don't have to be. And I've got it lit like I always do. And I could put a table edge here, or I might just bring down reflections of the bottles. I don't know yet. Well, I could do whatever I wanted here. I could start with the blooms. They're the most important part, and then come down and build my bottles. All the elements in this is fairly small, so I think I'm going to start with the smaller palette knife. This is my favorite little knife, little sharp tipped. I use that for details, but I, for some reason, have a lot of palette knives. My whole easel is full of palette knives. You'd think I was a palette knife painter. I mean, full of palette knives. And I have new palette knives in a case over there. I don't know how I got so many knives. Anyway, there's a guy I watch, and maybe you do too. He's from Australia, and he paints primarily with a palette knife. Very interesting. He paints with one the majority. He paints large, so he paints with one the majority time that looks like something I frost a cake with. Very big. When I did the 8x10 the other night, I did use this quite a bit, and I did use kind of one in between too quite a bit. I think this one. So let me know if you're a palette knife painter. All right, so we mixed up some Cad Red Light and some alizarin crimson, and I may even go put a little blue in it to get it darker yet. So I'm looking for the darkest part of the flowers first. I even got a few of those little hangy down blooms, which is kind of nice. If you are a palette knife painter, let me know, do you do the background first, or do you paint the background around your subject? That's the way I've been doing it because that's the way I paint. I do know the disadvantage is that you may have to come back and clean up some color and whatnot. You know, I have those rubber knives too that I use for things. You could even, I've showed you that before in an old video, you could even just block in the whole thing with that rubber knife just to get the shape. I've got a video on here someplace where I did some flowers with that knife. I took a workshop with Nancy Frank one time, and that's how she would start. She would just get in there with that big rubber knife and throw in the outside shape of something. You know, it would look like, amazingly look like a rose immediately, you know. So the bottles are, a couple of them are a little more blue, but they're primarily gray. So we'll mix the three primaries together. Red, orange, yellow. Red, orange, and yellow. Red, blue, and yellow. And decide if we want it cooler or warmer. And of course white to lighten it. Right now I've got something that leans toward the red, so I'd rather it lean toward the blue, so we'll put more blue in it. You know, these little bit green looking, some of it. All right, I'm looking at them there. There sure aren't many darks to the bottles, but we'll look for anything that's a little darker first. You know, we did do our sketch in some very dark color, which might be helpful because like this edge is pretty dark. A little bit of a dark edge there. And we've got, of course, we got stems that we got to get in there. The one thing about palette knife is you do use a lot more paint. I just saw a stupid gnat. We have been fighting gnats in my house. I think I'm going to set off a bug bomb. I am tired of it. I make these traps, which are very effective out of, I was using red wine vinegar, and somebody said they make them just with wine. So you put a little water, a little soap, dish liquid, and wine. And they really do draw them in. But I've been catching stupid gnats for, I bet, a month. I think they reproduce real quick. I mean, we're clean and we don't leave dishes set around, and it's just crazy. We keep blowing them in is what we do. They're drawn in and then we blow them in, which is kind of fun. I said it's turned into a whole sport. It's a sport around here, gnat hunting. It's very satisfying to blow them in. So anyway, I'm thinking I'm going to set off a damn bug bomb soon and just maybe that'll put a stop to them. Thanksgiving's coming. I can't be having gnats attacking my company, you know? So. Just playing around. It's basically, like I said, gray. There's a stem coming down. And then we'll know if we got light enough when we, boy, I see a lot of reflections, a lot of highlights, I mean. Like at the neck and then the water line and the bottom. I don't see one there, but I may try one there. That one looks pretty blue, and that's okay. All right, let's go back here to this guy. Normally, you know, if you watch me, I tone my canvas with bright acrylic, so this is a little bit different working on this surface, but okay, let me see, this bottle's too short. I may feel like I need to bring everything down. I want to make sure that bottle feels symmetrical. Okay, so we're going to move this one down a little bit, which may mean moving this one down too. So I apologize if you see a stupid gnat fly in on the screen. This water line's way up here in the neck. Yeah, we'll see how that feels when we get going on it. I may even get out a little phthalo blue. Just in case I end up wanting it. It's such a pretty color if you're careful with it. I mentioned it before, but on Fridays I watch Craig Nelson on Facebook. He's been doing it since COVID. He comes on at 3 o'clock Eastern time and paints for an hour and a half. He does normally a pretty large painting in an hour and a half. He's very interesting. You should find him and follow him. He today painted an old truck. Really fun. Had me looking through my car and truck photos, thinking about painting one. Like I said, I can't believe, all this time he's still giving it away like that, because, like I said, I own a couple of his DVDs. I mean, he's a good artist. So I'm playing around, just, again, mostly, grays, some form of gray or another. Some lean toward green, some toward blue. And we'll see in the end if we like that even. Probably going to go a little I did that show a while back at that gallery here in town. Sometimes wondered if I kind of miss being in a gallery in a way. I was there before when it was a co-op, because I have the website, of course, but that's all, unframed work. I kind of missed, having a space to go in and hang frame paintings, and I just don't know if I want to put out more money per month, to do that, but kind of miss it. putting the stems in there. But I got to remember that it's behind there. I have a ceiling light on and a light from the side, so again, I'm probably picking up both of those. So I think from here we'll go ahead and get the background painted. Then we can come back and we can add highlights and clean up any edges. I'm going to think about whether I want to pull that down. So I feel like I may want to, I'm going to keep the background lighter. I put a light fabric behind it. I do have a shadow, which maybe we'll put in there. I don't know at this point. It's definitely different painting with a knife. I think it requires a bit more patience, maybe. Just throwing some darker color on there to suggest a shadow. So let's just mix up. We're just going to make a gray, and I want it to be kind of a light gray. I like the background I put in that one the other night. And we're going to start out, I think, with that bigger knife so we can see if we can get it covered. Let's see what this looks like. And we may have to switch from this bigger knife to the little knife, you know, to cover things. And I'm sure we'll probably get into some of this paint. I do find it exciting when you see all that paint on the canvas. That's one advantage of the oil paints. I always say they're a little bit like sculpting. I talked to a lot of people last weekend when I did that show, and a lot of artists, you know, that's a lot of times that's who comes over to talk to you, and some of them sometimes are acrylic painters, and no wrong medium and no wrong reason to do it, that's for sure. But the oils are, and you can do this with acrylic if you work really quick. Like I said, I took that workshop that time from Patty Molika, and she's acrylic, and she works real heavy and she works real fast, so she can get a similar look to this with acrylics. So as you can see, I switched to the little knife so I could get in here a little bit. If I leave a little bit of the background showing there, it's okay, because we're going to come back in. I can see a little background color through there. Yeah, like I say, check out Craig Nelson if you haven't, and find him on Facebook. That's one thing I love about this YouTube channel. You know, all this free instruction is just fabulous. And it's just fun. I enjoy. And you get on, you know that if you get on here, you get on here looking at whatever you're interested in, and then you get a pop more and more and more videos. I mean, you can really get sucked in here for a long time too. But isn't it fun? I'm going to clean up that edge too. My next show is the first weekend in December down at the Cincinnati Women's Art Club in Marymount, Ohio. It's always a very nice show. It was really good last year, really well attended, and I see people that I love and don't get to see much. They tend to leave us in the same area every year, so I set up by the same wonderful people each year. I don't want to drag that across there, so we'll come back and let's get into this shadow color and play around a little bit. And one thing you can do if you want a smoother background in this, like I have that rubber knife, you can come back over it and smooth it out for sure. You know, if this feels too rough to you. My daughter had a birthday Monday, and we've yet to get with her. She's been sick all week. She's just exhausted. She's an assistant principal, and she's been taking a couple college courses too, and it's all she can do to keep up. So I told her we will get together when she is up to it. You know, it can be this weekend or whatever. Starting to look like it's going to be this weekend, right? Poor little thing, yeah. Yeah, there's some of these little, you know, these flowers have these little things that hang down. I think that's sweet. I think what we'll do is I'm going to try you know, with oils, if it doesn't work, you can scrape it off and redo it. So I'm going to run some color down here. I know some palette knife painters, it just seems to, like they get so much on there. I've watched them, and I guess I could get more on there, but they seem to get, you know, a lot of mileage out of it goes a long way. I'm not sure about this at all, but that's what we're trying for now. Just jumping around. I do find that I prefer the hard surface for palette knife. That's just me. Maybe you don't. You know, you can push against it and scrape it, and with a stretch canvas, you know, you got to get it in the tooth. Let me show you what I mean on the little, you know, I have this wonderful rubber knife. You know, it would do a lot of smoothing if that would be your preference, you know. And you can cut in there and help with your shapes a little bit, and you know, use whatever works. All right, now let's go back and look at some stuff here. I'm going to get into there a little bit more. Let me grab my smaller knife. My oldest daughter went to the Country Music Awards the other night. She drove to Tennessee and met a gal. She had tickets, and they went to the Country Music Awards. So, yeah, pretty cool. Okay, let's go back to our flowers. I'm going to get something more toward the orange and do some highlights. You know, geraniums have those little petals with the yellow in the middle, so we may stick a few of those in. I feel like that edge is a little bit dark. Like here, we'll put a little yellow like a center. Whether we see them or not, put a few of those in. I'm debating about throwing a few petals in down there. I'm taking a look at it to see if I think everything makes sense. I prefer, I think, the texture of the knife over the soft rubber knife. Some paint on there, boy. I don't know how long these paintings are going to take to dry, you know, compared to a brush painting. I'm sure a lot longer. I'm going to grab, let's see, I'm going to grab a brush just to like put a little paint in here. I mean, I guess I could have got the palette knife in there, right? I'm kind of comparing the shape of that to make sure it feels symmetrical. And I probably will wait a little bit to sign it because it's so gooey. Let it set up some. All kinds of paint on the edge. And if I just had the tone on the background, you know, I could cut through that and expose some of the pink. You know, usually have pink or orange on there, but I'm not going to be doing that with this. There's kind of a couple little shadows that want to run out this way. I don't know if we need them or not. You know, looking through the glass. All right, how long we been at this? 48 minutes. What do we think of it? One thing I probably would have done if I was using a brush, let's grab a brush, is I probably would have run across on these a little bit. A little harder to do with a palette knife. And I did these purple, and obviously the bottles were more green-blue. Doesn't really matter in my opinion. This water line's way up here. I don't know if it reads like that. All right, let's back you out in front, directly in front. Grab my mat. You know, and it may go through a lot of changes yet before I consider it done. I don't know. I have to look at it. There we go. Kind of gives you an idea. You're a little close to it, but all right, get you right in there. You know, I even threw some little bits of red outside the flower, which I think is interesting. Suggested some petals, so we'll see. I might, in the end, feel like I want some of that green coming down. I don't know. That purple's on there, isn't it? I don't, you know, I've done similar things with a brush, but a lot of this type subject with a brush. And a little bit of reflective color. Yeah, hopefully I've kept the edges, you know, loose enough. You know, we cut into them with our background. But you know, I kind of like seeing that myself. All right, it was fun. Hope you enjoyed watching. Like I said, I'm going to let it set up and then I'll sign it. Always sign it. You decide. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm left. In this case, I'll probably go right because I have more stuff here. And you want to keep it high enough to where your frame doesn't cut it off. I've gotten a lot better about that over the years, so be proud of it. All right, all right. You know, I'm seeing maybe that's a little crooked, but it doesn't have to be perfect. I mean, most of this was palette knife, so loose and fun, right? All right, catch me next time, and please like and subscribe if you haven't, and you have a wonderful evening. Good night.